Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Welcome. I call to order our regular scheduled Fuquay-Varina Board of Commissioners meeting tonight at 7 p.m. I've asked local business owner Mark Doble to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and Mayor Pro Tem Smith to lead us in our invocation. We'll stand for the invocation first and then the pledge. Please stand.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for tonight. Thank you for the privilege of being able to come together as a group of citizens, each person coming in tonight with sometimes differing viewpoints, differing backgrounds, different perspectives, different worldviews as we discuss issues. And Lord, I pray that even as we can agree and disagree sometimes, that everything that's done tonight will be pleasing, be done in order. Lord, we're just thankful that we have the opportunity to do this type of governing here in our country, in our community, in our state. So, Father, I pray you'll continue to bless our community, bless Fuquay-Varina. I pray you'll continue to bless our state and our nation. We're a nation, a state, and a community. There's many obstacles out there that we have to work through to make life better for the folks who live here in our community and our state. So, God, again, I ask you to be with us tonight. Bless us in everything that we say and do. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Mark, come forward.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. At this time, I ask that Town Manager Mitchell review the meeting protocol for public participation as it relates to this meeting. Manager, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, board members. It's good to be with you tonight. Tonight's town board meeting is both in person and live streamed on the town's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Tonight's meeting contains a public comment period and no scheduled public hearings. The public is invited to comment in person. When it is appropriate time, Mayor Massengill will call on those wishing to address the town board. All attendees that have appeared in person to address the town board during the public comment period should provide your name and address on the registration sheet by the podium prior to the public comment period beginning. We ask all those wishing to address the town board or either during the public comment period or a scheduled public hearing to begin their comments by clearly stating their name and address for the public record. The public is asked to keep all comments to 3 minutes so that all that wish to speak can be heard in a timely manner. To be respectful of those that may have different views on matters addressed by the town board, we ask that all in attendance respect the decorum of the meeting by refraining from clapping, making loud noises, and generally showing support or displeasure for comments made during the public comment period. Police Chief Medina will be asked to escort from the boardroom anyone not respecting the process, and it is the discretion of the mayor as presiding officer of the meeting as to whether or not to continue the public comment period if the meeting protocol is not followed. This concludes the protocol for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Manager. First item of business on our agenda tonight is the approval of the minutes for the March 6, 2023 regular scheduled meeting. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the March 6th Town Commissioners meeting as presented and recommended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda tonight is a presentation. And this first presentation is about the 2022 North Carolina Main Street Champion Award. And this is a pretty neat item right here I get to talk about tonight on our agenda. I want you to know that sitting to my left right here, Commissioner Marilyn Gardner is our most recent recipient and winner named a Main Street Champion, which is right here in Fuquay-Varina. That means a lot, and that's an incredible award. We're going to watch a video, and then I'm going to make some comments about Commissioner Gardner. So, Commissioner Gardner, thank you. Scott, roll it.
Marilyn Gardner, Fuquay-Varina. In 1986, Marilyn Gardner became a resident of Fuquay-Varina and has been downtown's biggest cheerleader ever since. Community involvement has been a hallmark of Marilyn's life. As a two-term elected town commissioner, She serves on the Fuquay-Varina Downtown Board of Directors and Friends of the Fuquay-Varina Museums. In 1993, Marilyn was one of the official incorporators of Fuquay-Varina New Century, a steering committee formed to determine the viability of a Fuquay-Varina Main Street program. Marilyn's service to the community doesn't just involve the time she spends in boardrooms. The giant chick at Easter Candy Hop is Marilyn in costume. The caroler leading songs on the sleigh rides is Marilyn. The commissioner sledding down the snowy hill in a Santa hat at the town tree lighting is Marilyn. Marilyn's greatest accomplishment is the downtown generational plan she advocated for, which will be finalized in 2023. Her forward-thinking devotion to downtown is only one of the reasons why Fuquay-Varina has chosen Marilyn Gardner to be its 2022 Main Street champion.
There's many of you in the room tonight that are from the Fuquay-Varina Downtown Association and have been involved with Maryland for a long time. Those of you that are in the room and have that are members of FVDA, whether on the board or your business is a member, would y'all mind standing in the room? As you can see, there's a lot of support at Fuquay-Varina for our downtown, and our biggest champion of Fuquay-Varina's downtown is Marilyn Gardner right here. She has been an advocate and a champion for our downtown. The video mentioned about her volunteerism, and I can't think of anyone other than Marilyn that's been the chief volunteer in our town right now, and what she has done involved for our downtown. And since before I was on this board and I was a kid, you've been involved in Fuquay-Varina, and it's meant a lot to our community. It's meant a lot to our downtown, Maryland. Maryland has championed for changes in our downtown, championed for the direction that our downtown has gone. And Marilyn, you've done, Commissioner Gardner, I call her Marilyn because she's my friend too. Marilyn, you've done an incredible job here in our town. You'll find nobody that cares more about downtown Fuquay-Varina than Commissioner Gardner right here. So Commissioner Gardner, thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being a Main Street champion for Fuquay-Varina. Would you mind showing everybody your, this here is an incredible medal that she got, being a Main Street champion right here, and this recognition. It's like, Marilyn, congratulations. It's well deserved.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for coming tonight to support Marilyn.
And thank you to everybody. When you get a volunteer award, you know there are many other people behind that award, and so many of them are in this room. Thank you.
Thank you. But she's not done yet. She's gonna keep being involved in Fuquay-Varina and keep being a champion of our downtown. We're not putting her out to the pasture. Our next presentation tonight is item 4B, presentation of the 2022 Community Survey results. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Communication Director Weiss and Jason Morado with the ETC Institute. Susan, good evening.
The Fuquay-Varina Community Survey was conducted this past November and December, and this has been a key initiative for the Communications Department. And so it's an honor to be able to present the results to you tonight. The Community Survey supports the town's strategic plan by enhancing citizen engagement. And I think that this is the first communications satisfaction, a community satisfaction survey that's been conducted in Fuquay-Varina since the early 2000s. I believe that there was one conducted sometime in either 2003 or 2005. So you guys are to be commended for taking this on. All the information tonight that is presented will be on our town website tomorrow morning. So it's my pleasure to introduce Jason Morado, who is the Vice President and Director of Community Outreach with ETC Institute, who is the partner that helped us conduct the community survey. He's flown in tonight from Kansas City to be with us. So he's going to explain the purpose and the methodology and the major findings of the community survey. So Jason, I'm going to let you take it over.
Great. Thanks, Susan. It's great to be here. My name is Jason Murado. I'm with ETC Institute, and we are a marketing research firm that specializes in conducting community surveys for local governments. And we just finished, for the first time, conducting a community survey for Fuquay-Varina. So today I'm going to go through the results at a fairly high level. The full report is very detailed and comprehensive. So today I'm going to walk through the key findings from the survey. I do have just one slide about ETC Institute. We're based in the Kansas City area, but we're a national leader in providing market research for local governments. We've been doing this type of work for over 40 years, and in the last 10 years alone, we've conducted surveys in more than 1,000 communities across the country, including a lot of work throughout the state of North Carolina. So this is really the type of work that we specialize in. This is just a rundown of what I'll go through today. I'll go over the purpose and methodology of the survey. The bottom line up front are our main conclusions from the survey. And then I'll go through the major survey findings to show how we came to those conclusions, and I'll be happy to answer any questions as well. So there are several reasons to conduct a survey like this. One is to get an objective assessment of how satisfied residents are with major town services, and also to determine what residents feel are the top priorities for the community. Hopefully this will also set a baseline for future surveys. A lot of communities conduct these type of surveys on a regular basis, oftentimes every couple of years, so that you can measure trends over time. And then we're also able to compare your results with other communities across the country. So this survey was administered by a combination of mail and online to randomly selected residents throughout the town. And that's our standard methodology for these types of surveys. The goal was to receive at least 400 completed surveys. We had a very good response. We ended up with 455 completed surveys. And the results of the 455 surveys at the 95% level of confidence has a margin of error of plus or minus 4.6%. Essentially, that means that if we conducted this survey the same way 100 times, 95 times the results would be plus or minus 4.6 from what we're reporting. So the results are never perfect, but the margin of error is very small. And as we were administering the survey, we made sure that the demographics of survey respondents reflect the actual population of the town, especially for key demographic areas such as age, race, ethnicity, and gender. So here's what we learned from the survey. We found that residents have a very positive perception of Fuquay-Varina. 92% rated Fuquay-Varina as an excellent or good place to live, which is significantly higher than most other communities. We'll look at that in more detail in a little bit when we look at comparisons to other communities. We also found that satisfaction with town services is much higher in Fuquay-Varina than other communities. We rated it above the U.S. average in 43 out of the 48 areas that we compared. One of the areas that really stood out was satisfaction with the overall quality of town services, where you rated 34 percentage points above the U.S. average. And that's one of the most important questions on the survey, because there we're asking residents to consider all of the services that you're providing. If the ratings are very high for the overall quality of town services, it means you're doing really well in a lot of these specific services as well. And then the area where you rated the farthest above the U.S. average is customer service from town employees, where you're 42 percentage points above the U.S. average. The top overall priorities for the community are management of traffic, and then management and planning of growth and development. Some other high priorities included street lighting, visibility of police and neighborhoods and retail areas, overall maintenance of streets, senior programs, walking, biking, and greenway trails, and overall efforts to prevent crime. So first we'll look at some general perceptions residents have of Fuquay-Varina. This was the very first question on the survey. We asked residents to rate their perceptions of Fuquay-Varina in a number of different ways. You can see the dark blue are ratings of excellent, the light blue is good, the gray is neutral, and we interpret neutral as average or meeting expectations. It's a rating of a 3 on the 5-point scale. And then the pink ratings of below average or poor. So obviously the positive ratings far outweigh the negative overall. If you look at the top of this chart, most residents gave very high ratings to Fuquay-Varina as a place to live and as a place to raise children and to the overall quality of life. Rate major categories of town services. We're asking here residents to rate these areas at the big picture departmental level, and then later on in the survey, we asked about some more specific areas within some of these categories. So again, the blue are the positive ratings, the pink are the negative. Overall, the positive ratings far outweigh the negative. There are only 2 areas that had significant dissatisfaction, which were growth and development and traffic, which is common for such a fast-growing community. If you look at the top of this chart, you see the highest rated areas are fire services, police, overall town services, customer service, and then recreation and arts programs. Then we also asked residents how safe they feel in various situations. If you look at the pink line, you'll see that very, very few residents feel unsafe in any of these scenarios. And that includes just overall feeling of safety in the town, how safe residents feel in their neighborhood both during the day and at night, as well as downtown, in shopping and dining areas, and then in parks and recreation facilities. So we also found that residents in all areas of Fuquay-Varina are satisfied with the overall quality of town services. So here you can see we have a map of the town, and we broke these results out by census block group. So these are very small areas, and this tells us if residents in different parts of the town rate services differently. We created a map like this for every question on the survey, asked on a 5-point scale, so there's about 75 maps or so. I've got just a couple we'll take a look at. This one's for the overall quality of town services. You can see the entire map is blue. And this tells us that residents in all parts of Fuquay-Varina are satisfied with the overall quality of town services. Sometimes what happens is, even if the ratings are very positive overall, once you start breaking it into these smaller areas, you might see some areas where residents are dissatisfied. So anytime a map is completely blue, it means you're doing a great job providing services equally all throughout the town. This map shows how residents feel about Fuquay-Varina as a place to live, and you can see not only is the entire map blue, but there are quite a few areas in dark blue, which is the highest possible rating. And this map shows how residents feel about Fuquay-Varina as a place to raise children. Again, not only is the entire map blue, but quite a few dark blue areas as well. So I mentioned earlier that satisfaction with town services is much higher in Fuquay-Varina than other communities. You rated above the U.S. average in 43 out of the 48 areas that we compared, and that includes 41 areas where you rated significantly higher, so in other words, 5% or more. And you also rated above the regional average in 40 out of 48 areas, significantly higher in 37 of those areas. So for these next few charts, the dark blue line are Fuquay-Varina residents who gave positive ratings, so very satisfied or satisfied. The pink are the satisfaction ratings for residents in the Atlantic region. That includes the state of North Carolina as well as nearby states. And then the gray are the ratings for residents from all across the country. And this is based on a national survey that ETC Institute conducts every year. So if you look at the top of this chart, 92% of respondents rated Fuquay-Varina as an excellent or good place to live. The national average is only 50%, so you're more than 40 percentage points above the national average. You also rate much higher as a place to raise children, a little bit lower, though, as a place to work. Here are comparisons for major categories of town services. You can see that in most areas, your ratings are significantly above the regional and national average. If you look at the very top of that chart, 85% of respondents were satisfied with the overall quality of town services, which is 34 percentage points above the national average of 51%. And then one of the areas where you rated the farthest above the national average was customer service from town employees. You had an 83% satisfaction rating, which is more than double the U.S. average of 41%. You also rated significantly above other communities when it comes to water and sewer services, parks and greenways, communication, codes and ordinances, and then maintaining streets and sidewalks. The only areas that are rated lower were growth and development, and then traffic, which again is common for a fast-growing community. Here are comparisons for town leadership. You can see that satisfaction with town staff and elected officials rated more than 15 percentage points above the U.S. average. Your ratings are also significantly higher when it comes to opportunities for citizens to provide input. And then here are comparisons for how safe residents feel in the community. And you can see in all 6 areas, Fuquay-Varina residents feel more safe than residents in other communities, which includes the overall feeling of safety, as well as more specific categories like your neighborhood, both during the day and night, in downtown, in shopping areas, and then in parks and recreation facilities. So now we'll look at top priorities. We saw earlier how satisfied residents were with major categories of town services. As a follow-up question, we asked which services should receive the most emphasis over the next 2 years from town leaders. So you can see by far the top 2 priorities were traffic and growth and development. Now this is something we call the important satisfaction rating. And this analysis is based on 2 types of data. First, we ask residents how satisfied they are. Then we ask which services are the most important. So the idea behind this is that those areas that have a combination of low levels of satisfaction, but at the same time are the most important, should be the highest overall priorities. So the areas in pink are the highest priority. That includes traffic and growth and development. And then in yellow is another high priority, which is maintaining streets and sidewalks. Here are the top priorities specifically for maintenance services. We had street lighting, and then overall quality of maintenance of town services or town streets. Here are the highest priorities for public safety, visibility of police in neighborhoods, as well as retail areas, and then overall efforts to prevent crime. We saw earlier that the ratings for police services are very high and residents feel safe, but these are still areas that residents feel are important to focus on. The top priorities for parks and recreation are senior programs, and then the number of walking, biking, and greenway trails. So now we'll take a look at some other findings. We saw earlier that overall, the satisfaction ratings are very high for overall customer service. We also asked about some more specific aspects of customer service. And you can see here that residents have had very positive interactions with town employees. Most residents gave positive ratings to employees being courteous and polite, said they did what they said they would do in a timely manner, gave prompt, accurate, and complete answers to questions, and then ultimately helped residents resolve their issue to their satisfaction. And then here we asked residents which communication method should receive the most emphasis over the next couple of years. The top one you can see is the town's website. That's one of the most common ways that residents get information. The other top priorities were the Parks and Recreation Program Guide, Facebook, and then Arts Center Program Guide. And then we asked residents which future topics should receive the most emphasis over the next 2 years. You can see the top priorities were investing in transportation and infrastructure, supporting economic development, enhancing public safety, creating a vibrant downtown, and then adding parks, greenways, and recreation facilities. So just a quick recap, we saw that residents have a very positive perception of Fuquay-Varina. There are a lot of examples of that in the report. Satisfaction with town services is much higher in Fuquay-Varina than other communities. The top overall priorities were traffic and growth and development. And then other priorities were street lighting, visibility of police, maintaining overall maintenance of streets, senior programs, walking, biking, and greenway trails, and then overall efforts to prevent crime. So that's everything that I had. If anyone has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you, Jason, for the presentation. And some questions and kind of general comments and see if I'm going in the right direction on there. You mentioned earlier that you had a larger turnout on survey respondents. I believe you said 450 and your target goal was 400.
Right.
That is considered to be a statistical relevant sample population for here? I mean, that it's 20% higher than what you're hoping for, or how did you come up with that number?
Yeah, so our goal was 400. 400 is a very typical sample size for a community of this size. The average response rate for a survey like this is around 12 to 15%. So we mailed the survey to 3,000 randomly selected households with the goal of getting at least 400 completed surveys. And we had a higher response than that, so we had a good response. But even 400 would have been statistically valid and very typical for a community of this size.
And you mentioned randomly selected 4,000 or 3,000 households in
Right.
Fuquay-Varina. a lot of people live around Fuquay-Varina and have the same address, but don't necessarily live in our town limits and don't necessarily live in our town limits right there. Did you select anybody that had a Fuquay-Varina address, or are these citizens of our town, taxpaying citizens?
They had to live within the town limits. What we had is shape files that showed the boundaries of the town and made sure that the address was within the town limits.
That's correct, okay. You know, you mentioned that 92% of people were satisfied and considered excellent and good and satisfied with town services right there in regards to that. Does that, I take that as a takeaway that things are going in a good direction, but what is your experience in the past when these survey results come in and let's say that you have 92% satisfied with town services and you don't, does that mean we keep the bar here? We need to keep increasing town services and keep moving there? I would think that we want to keep this 92% or increase it higher from there, or what do you see in other communities from this situation?
Yeah, sure. I mean, these results are definitely within the top 10% of what we see typically in other communities. And of course, you want to keep it there or even increase it if you can, but it's already definitely near the top, which is difficult to do. It's almost easier if the results start low and then you have a lot of room for improvement. These results are so good already, but definitely you want to try to maintain it there, or if not, even get a little better.
You mentioned the 3 areas that are priorities of our citizens, and I think these are no surprise to myself or anybody on this board. Traffic being number 1, number 2, planning for future growth. As you mentioned, we're a fast-growing town, and not just Fuquay-Varina, but the whole area people pouring into. But also low crime, public safety, clean amenities, jobs were functions that you also mentioned at the same time. And you had a graph that showed these comparing to other regions and other areas right there. Towns of our size in our area, how do we compete against towns of our size? I know you said within the Atlantic region, but is this common for towns of our size?
It is, especially in this area, which is such a fast-growing area. We conducted surveys like this for Holly Springs and Apex, City of Raleigh as well, and traffic and growth. Those are high priorities in their survey as well. So, yeah, that part really not a surprise.
And I think that that's one thing that our citizens are going to see from a traffic and growth standpoint. This survey was completed during last fall, correct? And ended recently.
Right.
Put your results together and came forward now. And so this year, it'd be interesting to do this survey again here in the, say, the 1 to 3 year time frame. We've got 9 transportation projects going under construction this year.
Right.
Another 6 projects that the board recently at retreat as approved coming right into that. So we understand traffic is a priority. It's a matter of catching up at the same time with those. My vision would be with this board is the board that understands those priorities very much. We had a retreat recently. We increased funding in each of these areas, and or not just increased it, but prioritized funding in those areas. And so how often do you recommend doing a survey to make sure how we continue to track?
The most frequent time frame is every other year. Some do it every year, some not as often, maybe every 3 years. But I think every other year is a good time frame. If you wait too long, then you don't know really what impacted any changes in the survey. But every year, there's obviously a cost with this, so that might be.
And I think 2 years. I think 2 years from now is a very reasonable time frame that you're describing. My point of saying that is all the projects in the pipeline, what our police and fire departments are doing from a public safety standpoint, what our development services are doing with growth planning and traffic projects. It'd be very interesting in 2 years to see all these projects that come to fruition too. Any other board members have comments or questions?
I just have one question. The baseline for comparing the Atlantic region, the United States, and Fuquay-Varina, how did that take place as far as comparing the satisfaction level?
Yeah, so that's based on a national survey that ETC Institute does every year.
ETC conducted the survey for the entire Atlantic region?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Well, it's a nationwide survey with about 10,000 residents nationwide. So that's what the results for the U.S. average are. But then we also pulled out the results for those in the Atlantic region, which was about 1,000 of those residents.
About
That includes North Carolina as well as surrounding states.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Susan, thank you for putting the time together for this right here. This was a priority of the boards last year to see the direction of the town, where we benchmark against other communities and how we can continue to improve. I recognize some areas that we're doing great in, some areas that we can see a lot of change coming in the future that make a difference there. And so, thank you for your time.
Great, thank you.
Next item on our agenda is the public comment period. At this time, the town clerk will call on individuals that are in attendance and have registered to address the town board prior to the meeting. The public comment period is a time for the public to address the town board about any matter that is not the subject of a scheduled public hearing. Those speaking are asked to begin by clearly stating your name and address for the public record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. Teresa, has anybody signed up?
Yes, Beth Anderson.
Beth? Good evening. Come on down.
Thank you. Yeah, and not related to my comments, I can tell you that at Winging It, it wasn't intentional, but we got to use the public services this year in the form of fire and police. So hats off to Chief Jones and Chief Medina, because your departments are phenomenal, and we are grateful.
We are very proud of them. I agree. Thank you,
Yeah,
Beth, for those
thank
kind
you.
words.
So I am Beth Anderson, 613 Far Post Drive, Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina. I am a resident of Fuquay-Varina. I am a local business owner. And I think it's very important to note that my business is not in the proposed social district. I am also a member of the Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. And tonight, I am here this evening to speak on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. On October 19th, 2022, the Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors voted to endorse the plan for social districts that was proposed to the town board. Social districts can attract businesses, tourists, and investment to the area, boosting local economies and creating opportunities. As a local business owner, this boost to the economy is incredibly important to me and to other business owners in the area. Social districts provide spaces for people to meet, connect, and engage with one another, fostering a sense of community and belonging. Social interactions in these districts can help alleviate stress, anxiety, and loneliness, contributing to overall mental well-being, especially after the distance created by COVID-19. We owe it to our community to provide them a means to connect in our community. We should focus on keeping our residents in Fuquay-Varina. A well-designed social district can increase foot traffic and community engagement, which may help deter criminal activity and improve overall safety. Social districts can contribute to the revitalization of underused or neglected urban areas, creating vibrant and attractive spaces for residents and visitors. Think of the empty spaces in both of our downtowns that could get more visibility and be scooped up by potential business owners and investors. Social districts often prioritize sustainable practices and green spaces, promoting environmental awareness and contributing to a healthier environment. Ours could institute the same and adopt some new practices while also setting an example for residents. Social districts can be hubs for cultural events such as festivals, performances, and exhibitions, promoting cultural diversity and exchange. Social districts may also provide opportunities for learning through workshops and other educational resources, fostering lifelong learning and personal development. This would be a great way to get more foot traffic through our two beautiful downtowns. Think of the events we could host in conjunction with our social districts. Social districts act as a hub for professional and personal networking, facilitating connections and collaboration between individuals and organizations. Businesses that aren't in these districts could partner with businesses that are, and they could jointly host events, thus raising awareness for both businesses. North Carolina has had over 30 municipalities with social districts. While some aren't active yet, there has been an increase in foot traffic reported. The concerns raised have not materialized, and small businesses are enjoying a resurgence in these communities.
Beth, we have come to the end of time, though, so please finish your thought.
Yes. I would ask that you afford our community the opportunity to offer this to its residents and demonstrate how each of our downtowns could thrive as a result. The request is that each of you consider approval of 2 social districts in our community, even if on a trial basis. After a period, gather a group of business owners and residents to determine what's going well and what can be improved.
So the chamber's in favor?
Yes, the chamber is in favor.
Got you. Thank you, Beth, very much. Teresa, do you have anybody else?
Mark Doble.
Mark? Welcome.
Mark Doble, 600 Broad Street, Fuquay-Varina. Good evening, Commissioners. Everything Beth said, that was great. So I was kind of reiterate that. So as a business, we manufacture products, and we manufacture beer. That's what we make. We've dedicated our lives in doing this. So anything that would promote any kind of economic impact for me to support my employees to sell more beer would be awesome. The social districts, I think we could use other towns and see what they're doing. It's not just North Carolina, it's not just Wake County. There's other states that are doing this, and it's been hugely successful. The model is awesome. It really makes the downtown vibrant, progressive. It shows everyone that we're willing to change and do things that just make us different. I think it's a very cool, kind of inclusive thing to do. If it gets foot traffic to other local businesses that are in the area, like retail, I mean, it's awesome. When my wife drags me shopping, if I could bring a beer with me, I'd buy way more stuff. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Mark, how many employees does your company employ?
141.
141. Thank you. Teresa, do you have anybody else?
Ken O'Berry.
Ken, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Ken O'Berry. Business address is 132 South Fuquay Avenue. I own Vicious Fishes Brewery. Apparently the beer manufacturers are out in force tonight. I assume many of you have dined at our establishments, and you know that what we do isn't just about the manufacturing of beer. It's about creating social connections in our communities and giving people a venue that they can come together and experience what community has always been about. I won't repeat what Beth and Mark have said, so I hope you don't mind if I take a slightly different tack. But I noticed in seeing this survey right here that only 17% of Fuquay-Varina residents thought that Fuquay-Varina was a good place to do business. Furthermore, one of their primary concerns is traffic. Now, I don't know about you, but I've tried to make a left here on Academy Street during the middle of the day off of Main Street, and it's pretty darn hard to do. The traffic through the downtown, you would lead someone to think that it's a vibrant, thriving community. But in truth, when I came down to see you all this evening, I had no problem parking. And that tells me that Fuquay is a place where people drive to get somewhere else. We don't have a thriving, engaging community post-business hours that draws people to the downtown to support its small businesses, ergo the 17%. It strikes me that as I wander around downtown right now, I would find most of them closed, with the exception of my business and Mark's. There might be another restaurant or two. But the retail, the small businesses, the boutiques, they're closed. Why is that? I think we need to think of things a little bit differently than we have in the past. Maybe some of the things that were in the survey should give us pause as to how we turn Fuquay, which is a place where people like to live but don't like to venture out, with the exception of some notable town events. How can we get them to come out in the downtown, support these businesses such that we can hire more people? If there aren't people patronizing our downtown, then the small businesses are not compelled to open and stay open later. They're not compelled to hire more employees. They'll hunker down and they'll be open from 10 to 4 in the afternoon, and that'll be the extent of it. So I think we have an opportunity to think of things a little bit differently. I'd encourage that people highly consider the approval of this measure, because it provides opportunity that perhaps has been squandered to date.
Thank you, Ken. How many jobs does your company provide, Ken?
Just shy of 100.
Thank you, Ken. Teresa, do you have anybody else?
Ruthie O'Berry.
Ma'am?
Ruthie O'Berry.
Ruthie? Welcome.
Good evening, I'm Ruthie O'Berry. My new business address is 103 Raleigh Street. I'm in the process of opening a brand-new boutique in downtown Fuquay. I currently have a boutique in downtown Apex, and I'm super excited about the possibility of the social districting, just based on the thoughts that it might bring more people out strolling the streets, and while they may or may not step into the boutique in the evening hours or the time where there's social districting, it affords them the opportunity to look around, and perhaps if they don't buy today, they may come back next week or the next week, or when they know they need a boutique item. And I'd like to also say, Mark, invite your wife to, I mean, you can even now just sit at Vicious Fishes and drink a beer and have your wife come on over if that's what it takes. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity here. I have also had a discussion with the mayor of Apex about the possibility of this happening in Apex. I know they are seriously considering it. They're watching what Fuquay is doing. And I think it would be really nice for Fuquay to take the lead on this. So as I open my new business, I'd love to see people out strolling the streets. My goal was to have this boutique open in the later hours of the evening. I don't know how many of you women in this room go shopping, and everything is closed down in the boutiques around 5 o'clock. But we would like to keep our business open a little later and allow people to come out and stroll the streets and pop in and be able to do a little shopping in the evening as well. So.
Thank you, Ruthie. And you mentioned you're excited to move to your business in Apex. You're opening a new business in Fuquay-Varina?
Yes, so I have one in Apex. This one in Fuquay should be open within the next month or so, and then we have one slated for downtown Cary as well.
Great, great. Thank you.
All right.
Teresa, do you have anybody else?
David Ball.
Mr. Ball?
Good evening. David Ball, got a couple of business addresses. We'll go with 204 South Main Street. Been a CPA here in town for 33 years. Yes, it is tax season. I don't have time to be here, but here we are. This is important. Over the years, we've done a lot in Fuquay, made a lot of investments. Been fortunate enough to get some buildings downtown. We've able to remodel the 204 and 206 South Main Street buildings, make them look a lot better. My wife's business is Lights Unlimited, right on Main Street. And so we are in favor of this, but I want to tell you a little story. I'm on the downtown board. I was on the Economic Development Committee for a while, and then for probably 10 years plus. Now I'm on the Downtown Association board. So we put on the Barbecue Blues and Brews. Great event. Had a lot of people from all over the Raleigh, Cary, Apex, all showed up to Fuquay to enjoy this event. And I had to take Miss Laura's place about 12 o'clock, guarding an entrance. Had to stand there for 4 hours and tell people they couldn't go to porta potty with their beer in their hand. They couldn't go to the food truck located 20 feet away with their beer in their hand. The only salvation I had with these people getting angry with me because they couldn't at least take their child to the porta potty was that, hey, the state has passed this law. We can have a social district now. Hopefully Fuquay is fixing to pass this. Next year when we have this event, it's going to be here. We won't have to worry about it. So it's going to be very disappointing if I have to stand there next year and guard that same entrance and tell people they still can't go to porta potty or go to food truck. So commissioners, that if you decide to vote against it, you can have a spot next year. How about that?
Folks, don't let either side clap, though. Please don't clap in here tonight. David, your business is sell beer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you're in favor. Okay, thank you. Teresa?
Greta Otto.
Welcome.
I'm Greta Otto. I live at 510 East Broad Street in Fuquay-Varina, and I'm a relative newcomer to Fuquay-Varina within the past 2 years. I live in the Varina Station building apartments, and that makes me very fortunate in that the Pints Ice Cream Shop is right downstairs if I want a beer, or better yet, if I want a beer and ice cream, I can just run downstairs and get it. I've had opportunities since I lived here to attend some of the downtown events. Couple of them blocked off Broad Street, which is right outside of my window. And it was a lot of fun. It was, especially with after COVID, had the opportunity to get out and walk around. The policemen were there. They were engaging with the community. It was great. It was really fun. But I have to agree with the gentleman from Fishes, is that right? About businesses closing down. As I say, I'm fortunate in that I live right above an ice cream place and right down from a pizza place, but the social distancing would allow a lot more freedom to walk around and enjoy the community that I've chosen to live in. It is obviously everybody, and me included, thinks it's a safe place to live. I don't see that changing. I don't see any cataclysmic disasters occurring after the downtown events where people were allowed to walk around and drink a beer and do some shopping. I don't see the social district changing that, and it would be very pleasant as a resident to get somebody to sell me a beer and sell me some boutique items and enjoy the town. So I hope you vote for it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Teresa?
Danny Almeida.
Danny? Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. All right. Hello, I'm Danny Almeida. I live at 611 Aiken Parkway, right here in downtown Fuquay-Varina. And I am the chair of the Fuquay-Varina Downtown Association. I also have a business here in downtown Fuquay, right here on Main Street, for over 10 years. And like I said, I'm a resident of downtown Fuquay. So for the Fuquay-Varina Downtown Association, as many of you guys know, we are all about trying to create a well-rounded and thriving downtown community. And we adopted a unanimous resolution in support of implementing a social district because we believe it will have a strong impact on building the strength of our communities in our downtown. I've had a business located in downtown, like I said, for 10 years, and I'm really personally excited about the opportunities that I may have. And I own a gym, just for those of you that are curious here. So I own a gym. I do not serve alcohol, and realistically, no one's going to be shopping at my business. But I do believe that people will be walking by and people will stop in and say hello. And I'm really excited about the opportunities to meet people and for our own gym members to get out and just be able to a little bit more quickly move down the street. So I'm very, very excited about this and would like to see us move forward. And I have my notes here and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So I apologize. So I just wanted to kind of note again, we have researched, we've done a lot of research as a board to look at what other towns are doing, including last week, spending time in a social district community in Statesville. And we're seeing really positive impacts through having a social district, including an increase in economic development, new businesses coming into town, and just a overall thriving community. So it is our wish and our hope that you guys will move to or vote to adopt or pilot a social districting program. So, or vote, sorry.
Danny, you're the chairwoman of the Fuquay-Varina Downtown Association, correct? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Teresa?
Kelly Query.
Kelly, welcome.
Good evening. Kelly Queering. I live at 1509 Russell Court here in Fuquay. We also have a business next to OSI there on the corner at 101 South Main Street. I serve on the board with both the chamber and the FEDA, so I get to see both sides, the bigger picture and the downtown aspect. And as they've all said, it seems to be a pretty well-received thing in our community, but obviously beyond. I think even before the past times we spoke at other meetings, I'm even more confident now than ever when I encourage you all to vote in favor of implementing it within our downtowns. She briefly mentioned that we all spent, 14 of us went out to Statesville last week to attend the North Carolina Main Street Conference. That included business owners, FEDA board members, and some of you fine town officials. And the entire goal of this conference is to learn from other small towns what's working for them to keep their town thriving and enhance the community experience for downtown. It's a little hard to invest that kind of time, energy, and money into attending such a conference, knowing that back home we're kind of debating the one thing that has been discussed for many years now as a very effective and meaningful community builder, and an incredible initiative to inject support directly into small businesses post-COVID-19 effects. I'd like to think that if the town saw it valuable to send us to this conference, that bringing back the knowledge and proven results from these other towns, and that this feedback would be highly regarded when voting. At the Statesville conference, they had actually just implemented a social district, so it was kind of cool to be feet on the ground in a town that is rolling this out. We got to speak with a couple of local business owners and then other people in positions like Dawn, they're directors of downtown associations. And one thing that really stood out for me is the owner of Red Buffalo Brewing. He's right downtown, and he was actually described as being the one person who stood to lose the most revenue from this. A lot of people think that this is self-serving or we're looking to sell more of our product, but really those of us that sell alcohol are watching it walk out our door to another business. So it's really more of a community-driven thing. So he stood to lose the most, but he was actually the biggest supporter of the social district being implemented because he understood that it's a community-oriented measure meant to bring people downtown, and overall he's going to end up with a stronger downtown in the future to support his business. The other last point is just, I can't hit home enough that this is a, working document, right? We can make changes if things aren't working. And as we move into our generational plan, I think this is something that should be in place so we can put things down on paper to support it as we build our community over the next however many years the generational plan can cover for us. And I hope that we're given that opportunity to do so, because it's very disheartening to put this kind of work in and see it kind of flounder when it's worked elsewhere. But I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Kelly, when you go to the Main Street Conference, which is an organization that represents small towns throughout North Carolina, did anybody do you any negative comments in regards to that, of towns that have implemented this program?
Honestly, I skipped those sessions because we've heard about it so many times. I wanted to spend my time in other areas because we've already heard from so many reports back, and the overall consensus is no, that no one's repealed it back. Anyone who's put it in place is enjoying it so far. I think you guys were given documents with some statistics of the growth that they've seen from it, and they can't speak enough to how it's really helping to fill in their downtown. People are seeing people walk down the street, and it's filling empty spots because it's more appealing to people.
Thank you. Teresa?
Scott Hart.
Scott? Good evening.
Well, so far it looks like I get to be the oddball tonight. I own a business in downtown, a couple of businesses. I've really contemplated this deal and thought about it, and I just feel like when you do this, you will infringe on other people's rights. I think as a business, we should have the opportunity to choose whether we should allow people in and out of our businesses with alcohol. And I think even though they say we can put a placard on our door where we don't allow it, I mean, we have apparel and different things that are in there, and we would probably not want people in our stores doing that, but if we have to put our placard on our door, then you've made us choose our friends. In other words, people that have alcohol and get to our door, and then they feel like, here I am with the placard, and I can't let them in now. I've offended them, and you know, the majority of people do drink, so we're not really interested in having to offend all these people because of our personal beliefs. I think when I think about downtown, I think about family friendly and keeping it family friendly. I don't want to have something that where people that necessarily don't like alcohol have to leave their kids at home because Fuquay downtown has now become a bar as a whole, not designated in the places that alcohol is sold. Now it's public and it's everywhere. So now you've made downtown Fuquay as a whole a bar, and it's not designated for what it's purposed. I want people to be able to thrive. I want businesses to be able to thrive. I just don't want people to be able to push what they do on me. I think that there's enough places that you can go now and sit down and drink. You have outside dining. Every event you have, there's places designated where people can sell alcohol, they can drink alcohol, and stay within the constraints and keep everything nice and manageable. I don't know that this is going to be manageable like we would want it to be. So I'm not in favor of it. It's just where I am. It's just what I feel. I hope everybody respects that for who I am, just like I respect everybody else for what they think and what they believe. And thank you.
Scott, you're a business owner in our town yourself also.
Yes, sir.
What are your businesses?
Got shops on Main. We actually own the grocery store downstairs, and we have S&K. And we have the storage building in between the two downtowns.
Okay. Thank you.
But thank y'all.
Thank you. Teresa?
Susan Oliver.
Susan? Susan, good evening.
Good evening. I'm Susan Oliver, 721 Valley Water Street, Fuquay. I am here, I guess, representing the non-business people. I know I've encouraged friends, neighborhoods, churches. I know people have written in and given you their opinion, whatever their opinion was. So, but I'm here to say that if the social districts are approved, that there are too many opportunities for it to be abused. There's no shortage of drinks. If you want to drink, go to a restaurant downtown to drink. There's no shortage of them. There's plenty. My concern is the abuses of what could happen. Drinking-related issues and law enforcement challenges, underage consumption, public drunkenness, drunk driving, general irresponsible behavior, brown bagging, littering. What if someone's walking down? Are they concealed carrying or not? Safety is a huge issue to me. We've all talked about the traffic. And alcohol can dull your senses a little bit. Even a little bit of it can. And people make careless mistakes. We have lots of people walking up and down the street. We have bicyclists. You know, what's going to happen when these people who've been drinking, whether it's a little or a lot, leave? Yeah, there's no way to measure how much blood alcohol is in their system. I know when you're drinking inside of a restaurant, it's more up to the restaurants can control how much they serve you. But if people are out and about just walking, we don't really know what's in their system. And to me, common sense, why do we need to drink from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week? I really don't get that. And what other events is it going to lead to? Or even just cultural events, we don't know what those will be. That's wide open. Are businesses going to follow the rules? I don't know. As our town commissioners, your votes are going to demonstrate your priorities. I'm a retired high school, middle school teacher of 29 years, and I'm concerned about the example we're setting for our children, our teenagers, along with the safety of everyone. I know I've been driving by Fuquay High School when it lets out, and there are so many kids just wandering through one side of that would be our social district. And they're going to take advantage of that just because it's there. Teenagers don't always have a very good sense of judgment. But I'm just concerned for the safety of everyone. And I know I've said this before, alcohol equals foot traffic equals money. I was a math teacher, so this is my equation. Is that going to be Fuquay's priority? Yes, I get it that businesses can make a lot more money that way. I get that. But what expense, what trade-off is that? Is that trading off safety? What do we want Fuquay to be known as? So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Teresa, do you have anybody else?
Perry.
Nolan, come on down.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
My notes go on here. My name is Nolan Perry. I live at 729 Laurel Spring Drive in Fuquay-Varina. In the past, I have spoken to you on behalf of the Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce. Today, I'm speaking to you as a downtown business owner who doesn't sell alcohol and who wouldn't be within the social district. I am strongly in favor of the proposed social districts, not because my business would directly benefit, but because I know our downtowns need this shot in the arm of revitalization. Our businesses love this town, they are engaged in your meetings and excited for opportunities to come. At your last board meeting, the marketing report identified hundreds of millions of dollars leaking from our downtowns to go to neighboring municipalities. The report also identified that people will stay in town for experiential beverage and dining options. Social districts let us take what is keeping consumers here and benefiting their neighbors who are losing out to Holly Springs, Garner, and Raleigh. Of the approximate 30 towns of all sizes, not a single one has reversed course on the initiative that they've passed. In fact, due to success in boosting local economies, some have even expanded their social districts. Several, like Kannapolis, North Carolina, adding that they have seen no increase in crime due to social districts. I hear those opposing this measure say that there isn't enough data, but if you look at the data sent out by the League of Municipalities, the North Carolina Retail Merchants Association, the North Carolina Business Magazine, and others, that is simply not true. The only data lacking is that which is needed to vote no. Please do not turn your back on the facts, on our hardworking business owners, and on the citizens of Fuquay-Varina. All I ask is that we give it a shot. We can always reverse course if we need to, but thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nolan.
Yes.
You said your business does not sell alcohol?
We do not sell alcohol, we're a law firm.
Okay, thank you. Teresa?
Reverend Paul Jones.
Reverend Paul Jones, welcome.
Thank you very much. I am so glad to speak to this Board of Commissioners tonight.
Please state your name for the record, please, sir, and your address.
Excuse me, I am Reverend Paul Jones, and I live at 1427 Stone Line Drive here in Fuquay-Varina. Thank you. I spoke before and shared with you that I moved to this town 54 years ago. And this has been a wonderful experience for me because Fuquay-Varina is a wonderful town. And just as we saw on the gentleman's report tonight, there were some things in the past that was not taken care of, and so therefore there are some problems today, such as the roads and town congestion with traffic. I remember that first year I was here, the Chamber of Commerce had a banquet, and I was a new minister in town in that area, so I was invited to go to that banquet. And Waverly Akins, the late Waverly Akins, was the guest speaker. And what he was doing was sharing with the people there how that this spot, this area of Fuquay-Varina was going to expand in growth. And what we need to do is to prepare for it. Well, something happened. We didn't prepare for it as we ought to. This is one of those things tonight. The gentleman also had low priority, medium priority, and high priority. This is a high priority vote that you will be making because it will determine a lot of things in the future. The last time I spoke, I shared with you how that as a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ, I have to deal with people who have become addicted, I have to deal with people who have problem with alcohol in their home, and so many times children are involved, and they are hurt in many ways because of this. And so I'm just pleading with you tonight for the betterment of our community. Let's plan now and keep this out, social distancing out of our town, because we've got a good town and good things are happening here. I was just thinking a while ago, as we started the meeting here, we all stopped and prayed. I did, and I was back there. You did, and you were up here. And certainly that was a precious, precious time. Oh, I see my time is just about gone, but can I say one other thing?
Go ahead.
This gentleman, he was in a bar. He kept drinking, he kept drinking, he kept drinking, until when he walked out of the bar, the door opened up on the sidewalk, and he bumped into his pastor. He got red-faced, embarrassed.
Sir, finish up your thought, please. We are at the time limit.
Yes, sir. Sir.
You are well past the time limit, sir.
Oh, am I out of time?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your comments tonight.
Okay,
We appreciate
thank
coming
you.
here.
Thank you, sir. But I ask you, please
Thank you,
vote
sir.
against this.
It's understood.
Thank you.
Teresa?
Thelma Mann.
Thelma, welcome.
Thelma Mann, 1329 Bass Lake Road, Holly Springs. I've listened to a lot of comments tonight. One thing that stood out was a report. So many positive things about Fuquay. I personally can attest to those. And in the mix of all that and the ratings, I didn't see alcohol. Let's look at it as an equation. There was nothing about alcohol that made it that way. I commend the businesses for having their opinions. They already serve alcohol. If I want it, I will go there and get it. If you want it, you will. I don't think it needs to be throughout the streets of Fuquay-Varina. I'm a social person. Alcohol does not have to be part of the social equation. There are other things we can do to be social, lots of things. But something caught my eye. In Wake County this week, I was riding through some area, and there was a huge billboard, and that billboard said, home is the #1 place where youth access alcohol. When there's alcohol in the home, remember to secure and monitor it. It says also, talk it up, lock it up. Okay, why would these same rules not apply out on the open streets? These same kids in the home or out on the street, how are you gonna lock it up? And I think we're sending mixed messages to our young people today, and I think we have a responsibility to balance out the overall community, not just consumption of alcohol, so we can be social. One lady mentioned a boutique. Would I love a boutique? We used to have one called Classy Cat Boutique, the finest clothes anywhere in Wake County. When they closed, I was very, very disappointed. So I assure you, if you open a boutique comparable to Classy Cat Boutique, I will be there, and I won't need alcohol to get me there. So I'm just saying, I think another twist to this is this. Someone sent me this today. I understand, and this can be a positive direction for Fuquay. The person sent it to me, and it's the Downtown Generational Master Plan Community Engagement Session, which is going to be held, I think, this week, March 23rd from 5 to 8 at the Fuquay Arts Center. As I read this, the Downtown Generational Master Plan will outline downtown efforts and advance the downtown's economic and physical success over the next several decades. Decades means it's a process. I don't think we need to implement something around alcohol and say everything's going to be great. From what I just heard, things are pretty great here. So let's do the process. Take it a step at a time. Get input from the people. I've got 5 things I can tell you, can't tell you right now, that I hear from other people that we can do. We all love Fuquay. We all don't want alcohol everywhere we go. And if I want it, I'll get it, and so can everybody else. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Thelma.
Thank you.
Teresa?
Justin Crawford.
Justin, welcome.
Justin Crawford, 5516 Stickleback Drive, Fuquay-Varina. Also a business owner in Fuquay-Varina. I do not sell alcohol in Fuquay-Varina. I want to first start off by thanking our commissioners here tonight. Each of you have either responded to an email from me or texted me or at least talked to me. I know this is not an easy job, and I admire the work that you do. Sincerely appreciate it. I decided today to basically just speak on facts. You've probably had a lot of people on both sides talking to you. I don't want to come up here and make assumptions, presumptions, misconceptions, or just come up with stuff that I think might happen or could happen or possibly happen. There's a framework that's been established for the social district. The town has worked very closely to tailor that plan to address many of the concerns that have been raised. The hours that was brought up today, that's an easy thing to address. We have the opportunity to make it our own plan. The state doesn't dictate how we do our social districts. Some of the facts that are out there that I want to just make sure everyone is aware of. This measure was passed and pushed by the North Carolina Retail Merchants Association. It was to help businesses that do not have an ABC permit. It had nothing to do with pushing alcohol on anyone. There was recent reports that were presented to the town commissioners. You each heard it about 2 weeks ago. Kimberly Horn, particularly, talked about retail leakage to the tune of $465 million that we are not capturing at this point in time. I feel like the social districts is certainly something that can help capture some of that, can bring new businesses that will capture some of that. Within 1 mile of where we stand right now, $7 million a year is being spent outside of our town. That money walks away from Fuquay and is spent elsewhere. The social districts will help attract new businesses to the town. It will help keep people in town spending that money. Doesn't mean they have to be drinking the whole time. It just attracts the people to the downtowns. That's been proven over 30 times in the state so far. Another fact that I wanted to present, both ABC permitted and non-ABC permitted stores have the option to participate or not. They're not required to. There's folks here tonight that basically said they were going to look bad if they didn't participate. It's not a requirement to participate. Nobody is telling you you have to. It's easy to not participate. I haven't heard a realistic opposing view that hasn't been addressed by the planning. There hasn't been another plan to bring new businesses that is as effective as this one. And I just want to say, please vote for this measure. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Teresa?
Robin Morris.
Robin, welcome.
Robin Morrison, 512 Broad Street in Fuquay-Varina. I own Pines Ice Cream and Beer along with my husband. I have spoken to you guys on the social districts a couple of times at past meetings, and as I have stated before, we are in support of implementing the social districts. We've all talked about the economic impact this could potentially have on our small business owners, whether they decide to participate in the social districts or not. Like Justin just said, not everybody has to participate. Sorry, I lost my spot. This would bring a new experience to our town, which would help keep the people leaving our town to seek new activities. We need something to turn off the tunnel vision that people have when they walk straight from their car to their destination, and this would help promote people to walk around and see what our downtown has to offer. We have so many unique businesses in the town of Fuquay-Varina, from just so many unique businesses. A lot of the other towns around us don't have as many unique businesses as we do. And people don't get to walk around and see that stuff because they do go from point A to point B and don't explore the town. We also have, we now have more data on social districts than we did when the social districts were first suggested for Fuquay-Varina, and none of this data points to added crime, intoxication, or underage drinking. I have personally gotten to participate in various social districts across the United States and even overseas, and they are not a big party zone like people seem to think that this town is going to turn into. We are still required to ID every single person that walks into our establishments and make sure they are of drinking age. You know, I have high school students that come into my store all the time. I serve ice cream, I serve beer. I serve these things to their parents, I serve ice cream to their children. And we've never had a problem with underage drinking or anything of the sort. It's just, I don't know. So I urge you to vote yes on social districts to help the small businesses that make Fuquay-Varina a place people want to live, work, play, and raise their families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Robin. Teresa?
Cal Samach.
Cal?
Good evening, everybody. Kyle Smyche, 1204 London Meadow Way, business at 511 Broad Street. First, just want to take the time to thank you guys for sitting here again tonight and listening to all of our concerns here on both sides of this social district issue. My wife and I are a downtown Varina business owner. We own a cycling studio and a physical therapy clinic, so we stand little to benefit from this measure. We don't sell alcohol, so really we don't really profit from this. The only good thing that we do see from this is that if say my wife wants to choose to hold a workshop in the evening, she can do so while others come to her business bringing a drink that they bought from somewhere else. This brings more folks to our downtown small businesses, which should really be one of the primary goals of our local government. More than just business, though, this supports our residents staying here and spending our money here, which you've heard countless times from other folks tonight. While I'm no expert on social districts, I don't objectively see this being abused. If someone wanted to get drunk, probably the easiest way is to sit behind a bar at one place and keep pounding down drinks, rather than taking one and walking from business to business, perusing shops and other places in the midst of all of that. So the claims that businesses will be blatantly over-serving alcohol or serving it to minors, the people behind me understand, especially the ones that do this as their livelihood. Their entire business relies on the permits that they have, and that could easily be revoked by selling to minors and other things, so they're not going to risk their entire job, livelihood, and the people that they employ by serving a $4 beer to somebody walking home from school. More than just a business owner, I support this as a resident. I'd love to not have to go to Cary or Raleigh for certain amenities, and certain businesses may even come to these downtown areas because of the increased vibrance of our economic development. You've heard nearly every single business owner here in town come out to support this measure, and sure, there are legitimate concerns that I'm sure the town has used the last few months to consider, but 30 or so towns have already done this, and so let's follow their framework, and by all means, like others have noted, this is a trial. If something doesn't go right, we change up the parameters. So let's support our small businesses in our collaborative downtown environment. Let's let the businesses work together. Let's let our residents have amenities that they're looking forward to having. And in closing, I ask that you at least consider this vote on the merits of the legislation, not some of the whatabouts that we've heard in some of the previous meetings, which I'm happy to say that we at least have not heard tonight. So I just urge you to consider this. Thank you.
Cal, you mentioned you're a resident of Fuquay-Varina?
Yes.
And you're a business that,
Yes.
what kind of business are you?
It's Rebel Cycle and PT, so we have a cycling studio and a physical therapy clinic in downtown Varina.
And you don't sell beer?
We do not.
Cool. Thank you. Teresa?
This is the last one. Katie Dias.
Katie, welcome.
Good evening. Katie Dias. My residence is 301 England Avenue, and my business address is 127 South Main Street in the Fuquay District. My husband and I have had the privilege of owning Stick Boy Bread Company for the last 15 years. And I'm proud to say that we're one of the oldest food establishments in the downtown districts and the oldest coffee shop in Fuquay. When we opened in 2008, there was very little foot traffic on Main Street. In fact, a lot of people wondered why we chose Fuquay as our place that we wanted to open. And the reason is because we saw potential. We saw potential for growth. We saw potential for new energy, for community. And I'm excited to say that over the last 15 years, we've really seen a lot of that come to fruition. However, in 2008, most residents had to leave the downtown district to meet all of their shopping needs. And they certainly didn't consider downtown Fuquay as a place where they wanted to go to eat, dine, or be entertained. They had to go elsewhere. Fast forward 15 years, and we saw a report tonight that says that still we're missing out on the potential for business growth, revenue streams, and even tax revenue created by businesses, people shopping downtown. Data shows, and it's been reported tonight, again, that when it comes to downtown social districts, overall, there's been an uptick in foot traffic for those districts, and even existing retail businesses like coffee shops, boutiques, ice cream parlors have seen a need to increase their hours to stay open longer to capture more of that audience. I would love to have the problem where I was so busy I needed to extend my hours. So I think a lot of other businesses are like that too. I also think that the data shows that social districts have also drawn new businesses to their community. So some of those shops that we may have an empty storefront or they may close earlier in the evening, again, you're filling them with vibrant spaces because people want to be where there's community. I think that we've got some work to do when it comes to stopping the leakage that's happening and people going outside of the area for shopping. And I think one way to kind of capture that is to extend our amenities, and having a social district really allows us to do that. So I'm definitely in favor of voting yes to the social district. Thank you.
Katie, does Stick Boy Bread Company sell beer?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Teresa, do you have
That's it.
anybody else?
That's all.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your comments tonight. Next item on our agenda is a tabled item from previous meetings. It is the Fuquay-Varina Downtown Social District. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Assistant Town Manager Seymour. Jim, good evening, welcome.
Mayor, Board, good evening. I've asked our Downtown Development Manager, Dawn Russell, to come up and present with me as well. So the purpose of this agenda item is to give updated information on the Downtown Social District and then ultimately staff and management's recommendation for establishment of a Downtown Social District. Just a social district recap, we initially presented this item for board consideration in October 2022. At that time, the town board voted to table the item until the November 22nd town board meeting, which at that time the town board decided to table the item until March 2023, hence where we are today. From the beginning, going back to October and even before that date, town staff has been working with and educating downtown members of the public and the public at large, public and stakeholder outreach. We've listed the intention to establish a social district on our Let's Talk Fuquay-Varina social platform, the social media sites we have, Nextdoor, Facebook, and staff has also met with downtown stakeholder groups, the FEDA, the Chamber of Commerce, and also, and more importantly, I would say, is a lot of the downtown businesses individually. In some of those meetings, we had the police chief attend, but again, we've had 6 months of informational meetings with downtown businesses to discuss our intention for a downtown social district. So we also discussed the item during the town board retreat back in February. Had some good discussion during that meeting. And just an update, since as of March 10th, 2023, 30 municipalities in Fuquay, 30 municipalities throughout the state of North Carolina have implemented or adopted a downtown social district ordinance. And again, in your agenda packet, since the November meeting, we included some additional information for board consideration, which is the legislative update and guidance information from the North Carolina League of Municipalities and the North Carolina Retail Merchants Association, in addition to a Business First article that speaks to how social districts across the state have worked to revitalize downtowns. So, for you tonight, management's options or recommendations for establishment of a social district. Broke it down into 3 different options. Alternative 1, which is the initial, which was presented back in October 2022, the Monday through Sunday, where, let me just note that the boundaries in the districts have not changed at all. But for alternative 1, it's the Monday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Again, why 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. At that time? That's what many communities across the state were doing. Those were just some general hours that we thought we would consider. And again, as part of adopting a downtown social district ordinance, you are required to have a management and operation plan, which is to be adopted by the town board. And also signage and wayfinding, letting people know where the social district boundaries are and when you are entering and when you are leaving the downtown social district. So alternative 2, or option 2, this was presented in more detail at the November 22nd town board meeting, where we changed the Monday through Friday operations hours from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Again, we heard some of the concerns regarding the school foot traffic, and so we thought, okay, 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. Again, the operation management plan, signage wayfinding, but also the town board had asked that in the event that we had discussed in the event that a social district plan was in place, that after 6 months, management bring back to town board a follow-up on how the social district had been operating. So that would be after 6 months after a social district had been in place. And then also prior to a possible social district in operation, that management and staff go out and assess downtown pedestrian improvements. That is taking a look at all the roadways, all the sidewalks, all the crosswalks, any pedestrian improvement. And an example of that would be the South Fuquay Avenue and Raleigh Street that staff is currently working on to improve the crosswalks in that area, just as a way to improve the pedestrian improvements. So alternative 3. So we discussed this, management discussed this to some degree with the town board during the town board retreat, and this is our dipping our toe approach, where instead of doing 7 days a week, we end up doing 3 days a week, where the district would be in operation on 3 days. 2 of those days, Thursday and Friday, starting at 4 p.m. and ending at 9 p.m. And then Saturday, 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. Again, your management operation plan, your signage and wayfinding, your 6-month operation report would be brought back to the town board for information. And then, of course, assessing downtown pedestrian improvements. For the board tonight is staff and management's recommendation to establish a downtown social district by one of these 3 options. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Director Seymour. Dawn, thank you for helping them too. I'm gonna make some comments, questions, board discussion, all the above, and so thank y'all right here. Why don't you leave the 3 options up on the board if you don't mind, please. So there's been a lot of discussion tonight. This board has received emails, some public comments. We have members that came tonight and spoke in regards to this. When I look at this right here, I look at alternative 3 as a good way to dip our toe in the water right here on a way that something can be brought into our community. Let me tell you some of the concerns that have been brought up, how I think they can be addressed, or what comments have been made in regards to them. Right here. School concerns was the biggest concern that came up in the beginning time right there with kids coming home from school. And I understand that right there walking past. Now, I will tell you the public sidewalks, and anybody can walk past anything, but this time period right here, when you brought back alternative 3, addresses school kids right there at that time. The limited trial period, a 6-month operation report to come back to this board right here, allows the board, at any time the board can repeal something, can change something, can delete something or add something, but this gives a guaranteed check and balance right there. And at the same time, by the time 6-month operation report, you also have to do some, put together your operation plan that this board has to approve too at that point. So just simply today is given, if the board shall choose to approve it, gives you direction to start working on that plan and before it can open at that point. Businesses can choose to participate. That's what was discussed tonight. Has that changed on whether businesses can choose to participate or not?
That has not changed.
Okay. You know, there's been some comments about better ideas. There's better ideas out there. I heard tonight some individuals talk about things to do in downtown. I've not heard any better ideas that have been proposed at this time. I haven't heard of any new ideas being proposed at this time other than just saying, I don't like it. Not to encourage drunks in the town, police chief. Drunks in town, bars, they have to police people that they sell alcohol to. They have a responsibility with the ABC law to verify whether they sell to somebody underage or not. They have a responsibility when that person comes in there if they are drunk and carrying on to not serve them. Is that correct or wrong? Okay. Police chief, Spectrum News had an article recently. Greensboro was quoted in it in their police department. They said they had no more crimes there. Wendell, Hickory, Albemarle, Cornelius, Waynesville, Silva, and Stanley County law enforcement departments reported that no incidents reported, feels the same, no new crime. What is your opinion about this, police chief? Do you, yes, sir, please. Do you feel like this is going to increase crime, and your thoughts with my questions and the concern I'm addressing?
So, Mr. Mayor, before I answer that, we started looking at this back in September, October timeframe, and we looked at the 24 jurisdictions that were doing it at that time, and we sought their feedback. And I wanted to make sure that we collected the data so we can make an informed decision whether to support it or not. And based on the information that we found then and based on the information that we have now, I will say that we definitely support this endeavor, especially with the operations plan and the 6-month feedback.
Okay. Okay, so you're in support of that right there, and you support what's being recommended. Okay. Thank you, Chief. Kannapolis was quoted in a business article also, encourages new programs, run clubs, and meetups. I know that was discussed here tonight in our town with opportunities for helping our downtown and thriving with residents. We had a community support that was done tonight, and this community support talked about customer satisfaction, said they want more going on in their downtown. Okay. You also had a top priority on there was to create a vibrant downtown. I believe those were exact words that were in that report earlier tonight. It said create, so that means continue to add, not just stop what we're doing.
Right.
Okay. We had multiple organizations, not just businesses, but residents that have been in support of this also. And I understand there are some that were not in support of that. Chamber, we heard from tonight, support it with a unanimous resolution or no?
The Chamber unanimous and the FVDA unanimous.
FVDA, unanimous resolution. We did Let's Talk Fuquay-Varina, put it back out. That was when this first came up to this board in October. Let's Talk Fuquay-Varina was a a platform created by this board to allow public comment, to ensure ways that people that did not feel comfortable speaking in public, people that did not want to email, but be able to go onto a easy platform and be able to submit their comments there. You still have to have your name there, but be able to not feel like they're in a situation being in front of everybody on the stage. That one had overwhelming statistical support for it. Is that correct or wrong?
That's correct.
Okay. There's a Business North Carolina article that's been sent out with multiple comments in there. Comments benefit for your downtown was it's going to increase foot traffic. It was going to assist helping bring in recruiting new and supplying all types of different variety of businesses. That article also quoted no proof in new crime and that it was not just alcohol businesses. This whole conversation is North Carolina Retail Merchants Association. You have them, and you also have the Beer and Liquor Brewers Association. Typically, but the Beer and Liquor Brewers Association is not who put this forth. It was North Carolina Retail Merchants Association. Is that what I heard you say?
Correct, in collaboration and guidance from the North Carolina League of Municipalities.
League of Municipalities did. So that's the organization that represents towns and cities, and we have members that are involved and on that board too, correct?
Correct, in drafting the state legislation, correct.
Okay. I believe in your information you sent us that it also stated they saw no increase in crimes or issues in other towns that have approved it. Is that correct or wrong?
That is correct.
All right. We did a retail study at our last meeting describing leakage to other towns. It was discussed tonight in regards to leakage about the money that is leaving our town and downtowns. Now, when we have a retail and hotels study, and retail was the main priority of that the lady talked about, in a retail study, are they focusing on boutiques and stores and different items like that through our town, restaurants, all those types of things, I would imagine?
Yes.
Okay. And the leakage, it was several millions of dollars that leaves our town every day due to the lack of availability, honestly. Our businesses are slammed right now. when they're attending on weights, but this is here to encourage more opportunity at the other businesses, not the alcohol establishments.
Correct.
Okay? I believe that this board has a decision to make and to vote. And we're gonna hear some comments from board members, and we've heard comments from the public tonight, but this is very, very simple right here. This is an easy alternative 3 to bring something in as a sample method to try this right here, which the one that probably need to hear it the most was in here. This is a good way to sample something in our town right here. When you say that you support businesses and you support the chamber and you support a Fuquay-Varina Downtown Association, and you have 2 organizations here that are unanimously supporting something, I think that needs to carry a lot of weight with this board here tonight. So I want to have a conversation about a board. We've heard people here tonight. I don't make motions, but I told you what my opinion is on that. Entertain discussion from the board.
I'll go first. Like many, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you so much to all the folks who've come out to speak tonight, other nights. Like many of my fellow board members, I've received and listened to a lot of input on this matter. A lot's been received right here in this room, both tonight and various other meetings, telephone, emails, texts, letters. Even some people just saw me in person and have discussed it. A lot of the input's been very thoughtful on both sides of the issue. I think some of the input's been misguided, has misconstrued what the issue is. I've actually got serious enough taking it in, and I got it, started getting input. I made a chart and kept up with who all spoke at meetings, telephoned me, sent me letters, who did it once, who did it twice. Some have done it 3 or 4 times, and I kept up with that. Most of the people that contacted me have been probably more against it, but it was a very close if I tallied it up. However, despite all the insightful, thoughtful comments I've received, the decision for me on this matter has not really been that difficult. From the very first call I received from a local downtown business person who incidentally at that time had concerns about it, right up to the moment we find ourselves in right now, I've not felt comfortable about this. I've been comfortable in my opposition to the proposal. Many factors contributed to my opposition to the matter. I think all of us come to the table products of who we've been, what we've done, where we've been in our lives. And I was in law enforcement for over 40 years. Part of it, 10 years I was the chief of police here in this town. I started out as a beat cop, working in an area where alcohol establishments were closely located to each other, walking the beat, working the beat there. Even with laws in place, we had a hard time keeping a handle on it with people out on the sidewalks moving around. That's just my life's experience. Despite what numbers and things say, that's what I experienced. That's what I saw. Public consumption laws have been in place for a while. They were there for a reason. Even as an investigator later in my career when I worked for the state, I can't tell you the number of times I've worked stabbings, shootings, sexual assaults, all kinds of violent cases that occurred in downtown areas, and alcohol was a major contributing factor. It don't happen often. I didn't work those instances over and over in the same towns. As a state investigator, I worked different towns, but one was one too many in any of the downtown areas that I had to work those in. However, on the other hand, as a police chief here and as a commissioner, I've always supported our downtown and its development. I'm a member, I guess I'm a friend of the FVDA, I guess is how you would say that. I'm not on the board or anything. I've supported all types of businesses that have come to this town, to include our craft brewery locations, our restaurants that serve alcohols. These businesses have helped contribute mightily to the growth in our downtown areas. We've worked hard to create special events with areas where alcohol is allowed to be consumed in controlled circumstances. We've allowed sidewalk cafes, we've allowed patios, we've done a lot, and we have encouraged and challenged our businesses, both alcohol and non-alcohol, to come into this community and thrive. I think that people who patronize these establishments, work these establishments, would probably find the social district concept to be something they enjoy a lot. One of the things that I have remembered that we've done since I've been on the board, and even when I was the police chief and had to sit through meetings like Chief Medina does, he stands. I hadn't figured that one out yet. I always say it. But one of the things I've heard us say over and over, previous boards to me, and then when I've been on this board, we've held to the idea that preserving the character of our small downtown areas to be of utmost importance to our community. Many of the folks I've heard from believe, and I believe also, that creating social districts would change that character. I understand that reports have been presented touting successes in other communities. I don't doubt that. It's been reported that about 30 communities in North Carolina have gone to the social district concept, which says to me that over 500 communities in North Carolina have not, to include one in our own county who voted against the social district concept. Despite all the input for me, I'm not comfortable with the concept. I've not been since the beginning. And so when this is called for a vote this evening, Mr. Mayor, my vote will be against the creation of social districts in Fuquay-Varina.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Smith. Commissioner Gardner?
Yes, I would like to thank especially our town staff for the research they have done on this issue and the ongoing updates they have given us over these many months. And I think I can speak for this board in saying I have really appreciated the comments that we have heard on both sides of the issue, and the people who have spoken with passion, and some have spoken with great knowledge about this too, because they have studied this issue as well. I think even in October, for me, I felt that something I wanted to see was that if we considered a vote on this, on the implementation of a district in Fuquay-Varina, I wanted it to reflect our community. I wanted it to look as if it were designed for our community. And going to the Main Street Conference last week, and I did attend the, it was called a toolkit session, was one of the first meetings, one of the first presentations they had on when the conference started on Tuesday. And it was excellent. Excuse me, they had 3 downtown managers who spoke about the implementation of the of a social district in their area, and for them they were all different. They had all been custom designed for their community, and pardon me. We also heard from different size communities. One of them was Silva, a small community, a resort community. One was Salisbury, a much larger community, and then I cannot remember right now offhand which one the third one was. And then they had some other people, someone from the Merchants Association, the State Merchants Association, that was instrumental in the drafting of the legislation and in advocating for this legislation. And I also talked last week with Aaron Winia, who is one of our legislative specialists with the North Carolina League of Municipalities, about the League's position on this and what they had, the part that they had played. And their legal department did work with the Restaurant Association in drafting the legislation. And there were 2 different types of legislation. It was done first and then came back about a year later. And, you know, there were more provisions. It was added to what was already done, but more provisions. So even they had tweaked it. But one of the things that legislation did was allow for any community to be able to try this and tweak it at any time, or shut it down, or, you know, restart it. But it gave the communities a lot of leeway in, again, tailoring this particular legislation for their social district in their own town. So I feel like we have had a lot of really good information, and having been involved with the downtown, the downtown itself since 1993, and been part of that, the establishment of our Main Street program here, and been at various times member of that board. I do know that I have seen the ups and downs and how economic trends affect what we're doing in our downtowns. And we've been growing so fast, we need to really be looking at this all the time, what we can do to bring more vitality to our downtown. With all that being said, I feel that we have come up with some ideas, these alternatives, that I think alternative 3 does reflect our town and its unique characteristics, and it certainly takes into account some of my concerns that I heard that first meeting concerning the proximity to the school, to the high school. I think being 3 days a week, starting with 3 days a week, where we're looking at Monday through Sunday. So I think starting 3 days a week is a chance to try this, to see how it does work. I like that there's a 6-month operation report where we can, but of course, the legislation allows us to tweak it at any time. And Chief, I feel certain if we came up with some of the issues that have not occurred in these other 30 districts that have tried it, but if we came up with some issues, we could stop it any time we wanted it, couldn't we? I feel strongly about looking for something to bring more vitality to our businesses and attract more economic development. We have now people living in our downtowns, and yet we do not have the businesses to support what these people need and what they will be wanting as residents of our downtown area. So with all of these things considered and being said, and with the opportunity we've had to gather lots of information, and from my standpoint, a lot of information about downtown and how it works, and what the many needs are and the changing needs are, and that it's something as we grow, as rapidly as we've been growing, we have to guard that heart of our downtown that makes us unique from every other town, and it is the downtown core. So I am in favor of trying alternative 3, that would be Thursday, Friday from 4 to 9 p.m., Saturday from noon to 9 p.m., and would feature the management operation plan, the signage and wayfinding, the 6-month operation report, and assess downtown pedestrian improvements. I'm in favor of trying that to see how it works. And, we can make changes if we need to anytime, as to any level.
Commissioner Garner, thank you for your comments. Commissioner Haynes, any comments?
Yes, I have scribbled all over my paper. First, just like all the rest of the commissioners, I definitely want to thank everybody for all the phone calls, emails, text messages, Facebook messages, Instagram messages, any way somebody communicated through me about social districting over these past few months. I do want to start out by, I guess, taking a different approach from all the rest of the commissioners. First, I want to, one, apologize for any business or person that's been hurt by any means in this process. Anybody knows me, I'm all about the heart, I'm all about people, I'm all about community. So whatever business has been hurt, said whatever you want to say about them, they're still a business in the town of Fuquay-Varina, so I want them to know that I apologize on behalf of anybody on anything that possibly offended you in this process, because it wasn't meant to happen, and I wish it would not have happened. So I apologize. One word that has been stuck, that has came up in this process so many times, that has been misleading, misused, was cultural activities, cultural events through this whole process. And I Googled cultural activities and cultural events over 25 times, and what I read was not what has been, displayed in what people have spoken. cultural events are so many things because one, when I took this oath, just like everybody on this podium, we took an oath to be a citizen, to represent every citizen of the town of Fuquay-Varina. Regardless of whether you agree with them, don't agree with them, like them, anything, we are supposed to represent them, bottom line. And, and if that's not your thing, we shouldn't be elected. So that was the approach I took. And I literally, this hit me when I was sitting 4,000 feet in the air above Cape Town, South Africa, when I can look over the town and see that I represent every single citizen of the town of Fuquay-Varina. Now, I took a different approach from the town as well. I surveyed people at Walmart, Home Depot, Harris Teeter, everybody. I asked them a few questions because we have been hearing from business owners, but I want to hear from citizens. I first asked them, do you know what social districting is? About 80% of people was like, what is it? I have no idea, I've never heard of it. So I explained it to them. I told them, go to the town website, read up on it. So I asked them, I proposed to them and asked them the question, you know, how did they feel about it? Some were good, some were very bad, some were like, I really don't care. And I actually recorded it, and I did about 120 people out of all of these places. And I felt like, as anybody knows, I'm a community person. I'm always out in the community, so I want to know what the people say. You know, I've heard what the business owners said, and I thank each and every one of you, but I need to hear it as a whole because at the end of the day, this is a quality of life issue. This is a quality of life situation we're talking about. So I polled those people to help me understand what the pulse of the community was. Also, another thing that I've heard multiple times, and I want to get that out, and people be mad at me. However, regardless of however anybody sees this issue, this is not saying we're against small business or business at all. I've heard this multiple times through this process that if you don't vote for this, you're against small business, you're against business. But that's obviously not true because every single person on this board supports some type of small business some way. I was in downtown getting a haircut earlier today. You know, I went around and got coffee from another place. So it's not that we don't support small business. So I don't want people thinking that if this goes one way or another, we're against small business. Also, I've heard, you know, creating community. In this process, this is not a creating community process. This was bringing division in community. And I know y'all talking, why you doing all this talking, but hey, I'm up here, deal with it. But we brought more division in this process than should have been over this issue. When we're talking about bringing community, I actually I wrote down every person that spoke today and who talked about bringing community. And this did not bring community in the town of Fuquay-Varina that we just seen 92% of people love to live in. So that says something well about this. And I know I'm taking a different approach from everybody else, and all y'all really care about is what I want to vote. But I just want to bring those things up because one, we're here for you as a whole, and that's what I'm all about, finding a pulse of the community. And I've heard multiple things, and you've raised bigger questions. I think Mr. Mayor said, you know, people said they want more ideas, and what are those ideas? But I mean, this is a bigger question. How do we increase foot traffic? Now, do I feel like us hanging hat on alcohol is gonna make all this happen and go away? No. That could be a bunch of things. We can bring a bunch of things to the table and say, will this change the whole scope of everything? So, you know, I'll say my vote to whenever, but this is stuff that was on my heart, and y'all know I say what's on my heart. You just have to deal with it. But these are things that, you know, should not. When we're talking about this, you know, we're talking about we're a dash one. Even in my campaign, I said, you know, how can we be a dash more if we're not one dash together? And this was not a one dash moment. So these are my thoughts. I'll save the vote to whatever, but this is my thoughts on this whole issue. But again, I thank each and every person for a comment, and I thank town staff. I don't want to take anything away from town staff because they put hours and hours and hours into this, but those are my thoughts. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Commissioner Haynes. So,
Mr. Mayor?
Hold on. Were you saying you were holding to a vote to say whether you were for or against, or I didn't follow the last comment? Okay, got you. Thank you, Commissioner Haynes. Commissioner Harris, your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who has spoken tonight and expressed their heartfelt concern about this issue. Thank you to the staff for making the effort to try to do something to improve the economic vitality here in Fuquay-Varina. I think we are at a pivotal point in the history of our town. And I think that what we have as far as this conversation is evident of our growth. But one of the things that I think will help us to sustain our growth and whatever direction we decide to go is what we really value. And for me, around this issue, I had to reflect upon my experiences because we bring our experiences into these positions and whatever position we take on a particular issue. And I just have to share with you so you can understand my position here regarding this. I worked for 12 years with a substance abuse agency. Then I worked for 30 years with mental health, substance abuse, and developmental disabilities department. Part of my experience during those years was that I was a drug education school teacher. I also coordinated and ran a domestic violence group for men who battered or who were convicted of domestic violence. One common theme in all of that work was around the issue of alcohol abuse. With that knowledge, later on here in Fuquay, having this position, we developed what it was called, and we organized a weed and seed effort here in Fuquay-Varina. That effort was around removing drugs and dealing with addiction in our community. Part of what we're discussing here tonight is not only the aspect of the business community, which I certainly appreciate, but from my perspective, the lens that I look through is about community health, the health of our community. And I think that those are the things that, for me, I have to consider whether I'm going to promote further consumption of alcohol, which, based on my training and my professional experience, I know that alcohol has been linked with a lot of things that are not particularly conducive to what I would consider to be a healthy lifestyle. I mean, all the data talks about what alcohol is being linked to: mental illness, substance abuse, domestic violence, suicide, all of these different kinds of things. And I'm aware of that, and I know that the data supports that. So when this issue is brought to me, my thinking is that I have to consider what I know and what I've seen. One of the things, just an aside, we used to discuss in the drug education school, when you see a beer commercial, you see healthy individuals having fun and all of these different kinds of things, and that's okay. But the backdrop of that is that's when you see someone who is addicted to alcohol, or when you hear about how alcohol has been weaved into the life of a family that has been destroyed, then I have to remember those kinds of things. And as it relates to my encouraging public policy, I can't get away from those experiences. So for me, my decision is whether I'm going to promote the consumption of alcohol or restrain from that and promote prevention. And for me, prevention is not necessarily supporting the social district concept as it is presented. Because prevention, for me, is what I feel my obligation is to the community, to the citizens at large, that I have a responsibility to make sure that we continue to have a quality city with a small town feel. We can do that, but we also have to have a healthy community. One of the other things that I think is so important in this issue is that we've had this conversation, and this conversation is so important to us that I hope that for us as elected officials, even though we may fall on different parts of the spectrum, that we respect what we have heard here tonight, and we know that everybody, I believe, is concerned about the path of Fuquay-Varina, where we're going to be in the future, be it commercially, economically, or healthy-wise, but we all have a different way of getting there. So out of respect for everyone who's made comments, thank you very much for your perspective. And Mr. Mayor, based on my experiences, based on what I've said, I will not support the social district tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. So we're at a point we need a motion. I don't think staff has anything further to add. I don't think there's any further discussion needed.
I want to say one more thing.
Commissioner Garner, go ahead, and then we'll entertain a motion from you.
I have great respect for everybody that's sitting up here, and you all must know that we have agonized over this, and we have talked it, and we have talked it, and we have studied this information that's been given to us all these months. I want to encourage you, regardless of how this vote goes, I want to encourage you to go downtown. Lots of people in this area live in the town limits and have never been to our downtown. I encourage you to go. I encourage you to attend the concerts downtown. That's the very sense of community and family feeling that people have been talking about, that they want for our downtown. It's there in those concerts, and there is alcohol served. It is a family event. I encourage you to go and see what you see there. And is that, or is that the feeling you like to see in Fuquay-Varina? I encourage you to attend the town concerts. I encourage you to attend the festivals, and just see what is going on in downtown. Do not depend on the internet for your information. Go downtown and check both downtowns. We have two of them, and check them out yourselves. Also, I challenge you to help look for ideas to bring families to our downtown where they can spend time together. We've heard a lot of talk about there must be other ways to bring families downtown. Please help us look for them. I think this is one that I'd like to try and see if it would work. But I encourage you, don't just talk to your neighbors and look on the internet. Come downtown and spend some time and help us decide what we need and what you'd like to see there. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Mr. Garner, would you like to make a motion?
I would. I would like to propose that we pursue the implementation of a social district modeled after Alternative 3 that was presented to us tonight.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have no second. Motion dies for lack of second. Is there any other motions that would like to be made tonight? I understand staff needs action, so somebody needs to make a motion of a different alternative or a motion of denial to put this to rest. Is that correct, manager?
I don't know that we need a motion of denial per se. We need direction if this is put to bed or not. If there's any expectation from the board that we ever bring this back before you or not, or I'm sure you can always at a later time tell us if you want us to bring it back. But is this put to bed for now, or is it not? You can either do that in the form of a motion, or you can just provide that direction publicly to staff. But that's what
I'm looking for a motion. A motion if you want staff to bring you back questions, which I don't think there are. Any questions?
It's not my recommendation to table this item, I'll tell you
No,
that.
I'm not looking for table, a motion or direction. I need some kind of consensus or direction from y'all. 3 that did not want to second a motion or make a motion.
I think the fact that it wasn't seconded for now puts it to bed, but as we do in a lot of things, we discuss different proposals at different times. So, I mean, we've turned down different neighborhoods and different things, and then it comes back again and we look at it. But I think the fact that there was no second says that there's not enough support to go forward with this. So I think for now it's a non-issue until somebody else decides to run it again and see what happens. That's, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it except.
Will, do you have anything to add to that?
No.
You in agreements with Larry?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I must admit, I see this as a process. I don't know what the other communities have done throughout the state. I know that there are 30 communities who have approved this, 30 municipalities, but there are over 535 municipalities in North Carolina.
We're looking
so-
for direction on staff tonight,
So
gentlemen.
I'm asking you, I'm not too sure whether we should continue this or not.
I don't think any motions to table this out. I mean, I think the question Adam and management is asking is, do y'all have questions? Are you looking for them to bring back information? I don't think there's any questions you
What
want.
are the expectations for staff?
I'm hearing
The Mayor Pro Tem presented his thoughts. If the other two board members concur, then that's the direction we need. His thoughts are, is put to bed until the board requests it at a later time.
Okay.
All right, Bill, you
That was the
agree?
Mayor
Is that
Pro
what you like?
Tem.
All right, yes, that's good.
Bill and Larry said put it to bed. Brian?
Put to bed.
Okay. Motion, action item fails, and let's put to bed at this point.
Thank you, Mayor.
We're going to take a 1 minute recess to, or 2 minutes, how long it takes to go to the bathroom and back, and then we're going to pick up the meeting right away.
Something so controversial.
If you're sticking around for the meeting, please take your seats. If not, please continue conversations in the hallway. Okay, thank you. Call our meeting back to order. Thank you for the bathroom break. Scott, you ready? Okay. There are next item on our agenda would be public hearings. There are no more public hearings tonight. Next item on our agenda will be the consent agenda. What is the board's pleasure on the items on the consent agenda?
I gotta find how many we got on it. I've lost my place. Eight. A, B, C.
A through F.
Okay, A through F. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve consent agenda items A through F as presented and recommended.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. One item I want to point out on our agenda, manager, is Mr. Wagner, you have utility allocation request agreement for Gold Leaf Crossing Phase 1. We've been talking about that at recent meetings, and the excitement of that continues right there, and that is our big commercial retail shopping center. Jim, that's the line of many boxes that got to get checked, but it's good we're seeing boxes getting checked off. It keeps Gold Leaf Crossing moving in the right direction.
Yes, sir, following the process.
That is excellent. We're still on track for the summertime for construction.
Yes, sir.
Gold Leaf, for everybody's reminder, is our high-end retail commercial development. A lot of road improvements that come with that too, so we're very excited about that. I want to point attention to that on the agenda. Next item on our agenda is an administrative report. Item 10A, Project Ordinance Amendment, POA 23-09, Budget Amendment, BA 23-43, and Project Award, Quality Builders of Raleigh, Town Hall Phase 2, Public Buildings. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Parks and Recreation Director Cox and Finance Director Crabtree. Jonathan, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Board. Hope you're doing well. Tonight's agenda, or the purpose of the agenda item, is to consider a contract award to Quality Builders of Raleigh for the Town Hall Phase 2 project, as well as an associated budget amendment and project ordinance amendment. So the renovation and upfit components of Phase 2 of Town Hall include finishing off the unfinished space upstairs, which will leverage 8 additional staff offices. We have improvements and expansion of the IT office suite. We also have, in the code compliance office, we have the division of a current office, which will leverage 2 additional offices for engineering staff. We also have the relocation and installation of access control doors on the 2nd floor, in addition to the install of structural IT cable in the new office spaces. The bidding process, this project went out to bid and advertised on January 23rd. The pre-bid meeting was held February 7th. The bid opening on February 23rd. The town received a total of 4 bids on this project. The lowest responsible bidder on the project is Quality Builders of Raleigh at $387,826. The fiscal note to mention, FY23 includes funding of $120,000. $16,300 have already been allocated for design fees for the project. Overall project budget is $462,113 and includes a 5% contingency. A budget amendment and a project ordinance amendment in the amount of $394,560 are needed. So the motion tonight is approve a project ordinance amendment 23-9, budget amendment 2343, and contract award for the construction of Town Hall Phase 2 to Quality Builders of Raleigh in the amount of $387,826 as presented and recommended, and authorize the town manager to execute a contract with Quality Builders of Raleigh subject to town attorney as reviewed a form. And I'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions, comments from the board? I know when this building was built, it was intended to be able to do these improvements with time and additions to it. Jonathan, so any questions for Jonathan? If not, entertain a motion. Motion to improve Town Hall, somebody?
I'm gonna make it if I can get here. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve a project ordinance amendments POA 23-09, budget amendment BA 2344, 3, and contract award for Phase 2 to Quality Builders, amount of $387,826 as presented and recommended, and authorize the town manager to execute a contract with Quality Builders, subject to town attorney review.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is other business. First item, 11A, manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, Board. Just a few things to report on. As it pertains to our police department, I am proud to say that our police department is currently in second place in the state of North Carolina for the Special Olympics of North Carolina. And so, as you are familiar, our police department has participated in this great cause for many years, and even in years past have been leaders. And I know that Chief Medina and his team are working real hard to continue to represent the town of Fuquay-Varina in a very positive way with this special cause here. And so just want to encourage the public and the community to continue supporting our police department as we work to be number one. Who is number one right now, Chief? Is it Mecklenburg? Yeah, they typically are tit for tat for us. And that speaks volumes for us if we can get in the ring with Charlotte Mecklenburg and go 12 rounds. That's not too bad. So keep up the great work there. I also just want to recognize Chief Medina and the leadership team. They're working very hard to work with our finance department and evaluate ways that we can be creative in the budget process to still address the needs in our department, but perhaps look at creative ways to advance purchases or even other creative measures so that there is some relief on the fiscal year 24 budget and even the 5-year plan. I know we recently moved forward the acquisition of some police patrol vehicles so that we could better prepare for future budget years. So I want to thank Chief Medina and his team for their creativity in working with our finance department. Martin Baxley in our fire department has advanced through the fire department career ladder and has been promoted from firefighter 2 to senior firefighter. So if you're ever near the fire department and see Martin, congratulate him on working to advance his position within the department through the career ladder program. And also Captain Jerry Crocker has received his fire inspector level 1 certification. So continuing, we've got staff that are continuing to add value to our community and our organization all the time. Karen Warner with our Human Resources Department, she's our recruitment coordinator, if you'll recall. She's begun our summer employment interviews for summer seasonal employees. We have a good number of employees that we hire during the summer months for numerous parks and recreation programs, as well as other programs throughout the organization. And so those efforts have begun. And David Taylor in our Human Resources Department, our Safety and Risk Management Officer, has formed a town-wide safety committee to help with risk management throughout the organization. And so we're beginning to take these steps that demonstrate that we're no longer a small community anymore. We're a mid-sized to large tier community here in North Carolina, one of the top 30 largest communities in North Carolina. And so our organization is beginning to reflect that as well, or is reflecting that. With respect to our communications department, our communications staff with other departments are working on a series of informational videos for the community. I know that our communications team is working with the Parks and Recreation Department to highlight town parks and offerings, as well as working with our finance department as we develop a FY fiscal year 24 budget video that helps explain to the public what is in our budget as the town board will eventually consider it and adopt. As it pertains to our planning department, the department went live with a development and business liaison services webpage, which includes a wide variety of links for both residents and the development community, providing answers to frequently asked questions, forms, and applications, and even online meeting requests. And then I also just want to mention that Pam Davison, our planning director, has been selected to, Pam's in the room here. She's been selected to be one of 30 participating in this year's Urban Land Institute Health Leaders Network. The international group of land use and real estate professionals including public officials, architects, designers, developers, healthcare professionals, planners, and educators will collaborate on actionable development and design strategies that improve health and well-being. And so this is going to be a great asset to our community, what Pam gets from this wonderful opportunity. She and 29 other leaders in planning and community well-being will get together and strategize on ways to continue to improve communities throughout the country, Fuquay-Varina included. Several of our building inspectors are taking state exams to advance their certifications in inspections trades, and so we'll be recognizing them in future meetings. And our engineering department is continuing to advance the numerous transportation projects the town board has prioritized. The mayor earlier tonight mentioned 9 of those that are in the works, and our engineering department is working diligently to continue to check boxes and make advancements in those. Perhaps all of those that were in the room tonight will catch this next statement on YouTube or Facebook after the fact, but Commissioner Gardner invited people to get involved in our downtown and be a part of future solutions to help bring vibrancy and activity to our downtown. A great way to do that is by them coming to the Downtown Generational Master Plan Community Engagement Session on March 23rd from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Arts Center. We're hoping that the community comes out and gives their input and helps us craft this generational plan for the future of our downtown. Residents and business owners are invited to learn more about the importance of the plan and provide input on what they would like to see in our downtown districts. March 23rd, 5 to 8 p.m. Yes, ma'am.
Will that be the kind of thing where you put the sticky dots or whatever? Is it something? How's that information going to be gathered?
And Tiffany been working more closely with the consultant. Do they plan to do that type of measurement?
Yes, they do. They plan on having different stations, and they'll be discussing different stages of the generational plan as far as what people would like to see, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's events. So it's really just trying to absorb all that information at the first major public meeting.
There will be more than this one. This one just kicks off that public input process.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. As it pertains to the Public Utilities Department, I did want to just inform the board, Mayor Massengale and management. I want to give Jim Seymour, our assistant manager, some recognition here as well. This week, we submitted a $2 million request, community funding request, to Congressman Wiley Nichols' office. We appreciate Congressman Nickel and his staff working with us as we prepared our submittal. This $2 million request would go towards offsetting the total cost of the 1 million gallon per day elevated water storage tank that we spoke about at our town board retreat. Qualifies under one of the water and wastewater infrastructure grant programs, and we are again just grateful for Congressman Nickel to reach out to the mayor directly and his staff to work with us as we prepared our submittal.
And he promises us a bunch of money.
Well, that's good. That's what we want to see, for sure. Our finance department, the only 3 words I have to say to just describe what they've been working on is budget, budget, and budget. And we'll have our April 17th budget workshop for more details on that. Some great activities and events are listed on the town board agenda as it relates to our Arts Center. Thursday, March 23rd, portrait of Aretha Franklin. I get caught up on that. CC Tennille celebrates the Queen of Soul. We will be having a topping out ceremony for Fire Station number 4, but it will not be on Wednesday, March 29th. We found out from our contractor today they've had some delay in materials, and so we'll be rescheduling that for perhaps 2 or 3 weeks beyond that date. We'll let the board know. That's a small ceremony. It's intended for our town board members, our fire department staff, some town staff that's involved in the project management process, and our partners, Wake County Fire Service and Wake County EMS. So it's not necessarily intended to be just like a groundbreaking or a ribbon cutting, but it is a small, significant ceremonial event where we mark and celebrate the last and tallest beam being put on the building before it's closed in and the finishes are put on it. So we'll have that topping out event, and the date is to be determined. April 1st, Saturday, April 1st, 10 a.m., Fleming Loop Park, the Easter egg hunt, always a community favorite, as well as the Downtown Candy Hop, hosted by the Fuquay-Varina Downtown Association. That's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Also on Saturday, April 1st, Coffee with the Cop will be at the Hilltop, is it 10? 10 a.m., excuse me, to 2 p.m., the Downtown Candy Hop. The Coffee with the Cop, thank you, is Hilltop Needmore Town Park and Preserve Clubhouse. This is Monday, April 10th from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And then our first Follow Me to Fuquay-Varina concert of the spring season will be on Thursday, April 13th. Commissioner Gardner encouraged our community to come out and be a part of those concerts. Management certainly encourages that as well. Thursday, April 13th, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And we have a fan and community favorite, Liquid Pleasure, is coming back to entertain the community that night. They always have a good set list of music that they entertain the community with. So excited about them coming back. On Thursday, April 13th at 7 p.m., the Downtown Jazz, Sirens of Song, Ella Fitzgerald will be at our Art Center as well. And then on Saturday, April 15th at 7:30 p.m., Who Hijacked My Fairy Tale, featuring comedian Kelly Swanson. Our budget workshop again will be on Monday, April 17th at 6 p.m. in this room. And the Art Center will have one final event in the month of April on the 29th, 7:30 p.m. The Rodney Marsalis and the Philadelphia Big Brass will be playing at the Art Center. I have no other items to report to the board this evening, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you, Manager. Commissioner Gardner, any comments?
Just again to say, I thank the town for their support and FEDA board for their support in helping defray the cost of that trip to the downtown conference last Tuesday through Thursday. It was a lot of excellent, it was some of the best sessions I think I've ever been to, I thought, and the speakers were really good. It was, I think we got a lot of good ideas for things we can work toward here in downtown. And we had the largest contingent there with the exception of the hosting town. So that was really good. I think it's the most people we'd ever carried there. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gardner. Commissioner Harris?
No comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Haynes?
No comments.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Only one comment. Again, congratulations, Commissioner Gardner. Very happy and pleased to see that tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work. That's it.
I'm going to make a quick comment that we have a lot of great events on our calendar coming up. I encourage anybody that's watching or anyone that's here to pack your calendar with those events that staff's mentioned tonight and that you know are upcoming on our calendar. Susan does a great job of updating our town website and getting information there, so thank you. Manager, is there a recommended closed session for this evening?
There is a recommended closed session this evening under North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A3, attorney-client privilege, and A5, property acquisition disposition.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Move to closed session. Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.